think we'll get them open.
Okay, right, lovely. So welcome back. Our next item is number 10, the baseball team licensing agreement, and this is to consider. Actually, I'll let Jeff.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so this is a proposal to make an agreement with Taunton baseball team. There's a couple of reasons for this agreement. One of those is that they would like to install a permanent diamond, which does require some changes to the park. They realise that will require planning permission, which will need our support. For them to be able to get the funding to be able to install the baseball diamond. Baseball is not like a lot of our traditional sports, football, rugby, cricket, where we can actually directly get funding. It's a sport that they can only apply for the funding themselves. So they would require an agreement which will give them a set period. Where we're looking at between 10 to 15 years, where they are guaranteed to be in that one spot, which means that they can then apply to get that funding to make changes to the park. Now, the kind of changes they're looking to make aren't particularly drastic. They can be reversed relatively easily. So if the agreement were to fail, but they are an upcoming team. For them to be able to progress through their leagues, they also need to have a certain standard of pitch. That we've made a few kind of stipulations in this agreement where certainly with the backstop that we will require them to have professional movers. So they're looking to relocate the backstop that's currently in Victoria Park over to Taunton Green. They are seeking to do a lot of the work themselves, but that's one aspect which we would ask that they get a professional to relocate because of its weight and size. That also will open us up to other teams requesting similar agreements. So we're looking to kind of have something that's standardized that we can offer to other teams, where it makes it easier for them to predict their expenditure and where we can share the risk. So there are, if you look, when it comes to income, in 23-24, we were anticipating an income of approximately 3,000, when in fact it came in 1,982. The agreement that we're looking at will actually give us 2,160 per annum, and I would hope that we would support this upcoming sport. It's a team that also offer 3 days to local children and adults who are looking for an experience of baseball. They do that all for free and with their own time. So they are quite a nice bunch of people, and I would hope that we can support them in this. So your questions?
Okay. Yes, they are a nice team. I remember when they first moved up to Taunton Green. Had a go. What was that? I didn't actually hit anything. So yes, I'm very supportive of them. Just to clarify, they've got to move that fence, that backstop fence, is it?
It's something they would like to do, yes.
Okay, they can play without it, can they?
They can, yes.
There's no health and safety risk.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
And they would have to move at their own expense.
Correct, yes. We would simply be, providing our support when it comes to the planning.
Are there any questions on this, Councillor?
I think this seems relatively straightforward. I mean, it's a really good thing. We want to support, and as Jack said, it's not just the sort of competitive side of baseball. It's the opportunity for anybody with any ability to kind of go and try it out for free and have some fun and in a nice environment. So I think it's something we should definitely support. And I get the point about they need a long-term agreement so that they can plan ahead and get funding in and what have you. And as to what they want to put in, the diamond or whatever it's called. So we've said they have to there has to be pre-consultation with the community to check the community's on board with this, and then also for any planning that's needed. Obviously, then again, there would be opportunity for people to feed in, and we seem to have covered off all the bases, if that's a bit of a pun there. And also, I was just gonna check on, so what's nice about this, so we seem to be saying there'll be a potential biodiversity net gain that we get out of this in terms of the mud all around the park, around the edge, because there's so much scope in all of our parks to do more in terms of wildlife friendly planting of all kind, you know, to attract wildlife and whatnot, doodah. So that sounds exciting, but will that be us doing it, or will it be a kind of condition of their, is it something they're going to have to build into the planning application? Is it something that we're going to get them to do, but they consult on us, or we're going to do it, or who's going to do it?
So that's kind of already taking place, but all it does, it helps define the boundaries. So it enables us to know what spaces are required and what we can give over to our biodiversity aspirations.
So it's us doing that as part of anyway, but yeah, okay.
I mean, they've been there now, what, 18 months?
I believe so, yes.
Yes, we haven't had any negative comments from residents that time. I mean, I think it's great that we have a baseball team. It's a new sport. It's a different sport. It's another sport that we can do, and this town seems to be excelling and providing good sport coverage.
You know, if we've created this or helped create this quality facility, then we live nicely in between all the other teams in the southwest, so it offers that opportunity for them to actually travel half the distances when they're going to each other's homes, and enable it to get used by other teams, and then that also will increase our income.
Yes, again, because they are part of the league, so teams are travelling to Taunton. So the recommendations are that the monthly payments are seeking agreement with Taunton Town Council that we allow the following monthly payments rather than paying per use for the sports field and pavilion, which I think helps guarantee our income, and as the state officer done. Installation of a permanent baseball diamond at Taunton Green, we allow that. Progress the licence granted by the Town Council to offer certainty for the long term. So I don't think they've got any plans to move. I think they like that area because they have moved them to the toy park. I think they prefer. And request the council consider developing a sports pitch licensing policy. Just ask, because one of the reasons they moved up there was access to the pavilion. They didn't get full access to the pavilion, Victoria Park. Do they have exclusive use of the pavilion up there?
No, they do not, no.
So, do I have a proposal? Councillor Taunton, seconder? There's all those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Great, lovely. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
That's, I think you're free to go. I think. Thank you very much. I should. So, okay. Item number 11, the parks improvement access restrictions. I should move straight to Paul to talk to this.
Thank you, Chair. So essentially, we've had some recent incursions into our parks by unlawful visitors. Bit of disruption, cost the council a bob or two in having to have them evicted and to clear up, which is never a pleasant task for the in-house team to do. They've done it very quickly, very promptly, and to a very good standard following those removals. But these are uncontrolled costs, and they seem to be increasing year on year. So last year we had a couple. This year we've had 3 already. Rough cost of eviction on each occasion is about £3,000 to £5,000. It's not a budgeted amount, and that soon mounts up. And we've another bank holiday coming up at the end of August. So this proposal is following assessment of each of our parks on a risk basis as to how susceptible they are to incursions by groups that we wouldn't want to occupy our parks. There are a range of measures that we can put in place. So there's a chart table explaining how many of each type of measure would be required in each park. We have a couple of parks which we deem to be lower risk because of their proximity and the way that they're used, such as Lingford Park, which has a stream going through the middle, and it's a very, very well used park as a cut through and a lot of houses around it. So it is deemed to be, dare I say, less susceptible to incursions. So if you recall, last year we carried out some measures at Prizewood Park following a previous incursion, and those measures were a multifaceted approach, including a height restriction for the car park, some drop-down posts to replace the lift-out plastic posts that we had to protect the green areas. We put some hoops in where the footpath was wide enough to get a vehicle through, and we put some boulders semi-set into the ground. So there were multiple measures to stop people with larger vehicles coming onto that ground who were not authorised to do so, but it still allowed us to drop down the posts and open the barrier for the purposes of maintenance in that park. It's appreciated that spending the money like this is not easy to, is not tangible to see its relative success, apart from, do we have people coming onto our parks unlawfully again, or don't we? However, in this instance, we had reports back from residents at Prizewood who witnessed vehicles that they recognised coming in and having a look at those measures, and they decided to go away again and didn't try to get onto the ground. So for that reason, I've put a big tick in the box saying actually something worked. And the reason there are multiple facets is because the height barriers are very visual from a distance, and somebody might actually not even bother coming near it. But if they do, and they look at the other measures that are in place, hopefully it will deter them enough to go elsewhere. So each of the parks, as I said, has been assessed. There is a financial risk in not doing anything, and because we now have a very proficient and competent open spaces team, there are a number of measures we can take ourselves without having to rely on contractor labour, which brings the cost right down. So the proposal is to include measures such as some oak posts that align with the natural feel of the parks, with the trees and with the wood benches, etc., so they don't detract from the environment people can enjoy. A number of drop-down posts that are lockable and all keyed alike, so our teams would have access to the parks, and we could issue those out to other users of the parks when necessary, under limited authorising conditions. A couple of height barriers, and some other measures such as a couple of steel hoops in some of the parks, and what else have we got? A bit of signage and stuff as well. So we've gone through all of the parks. The total value of what we need to spend is £34,602, and that will protect all of the parks we've currently got. For example, Penny's Field has 180-metre road frontage, and it's easy to drive up the curb and go down the slope, and you're in that big green space. So the measures for that part particularly would be the 8-inch oak posts, spaced such as you can't get a vehicle between them, and then a couple of drop-down posts on the proper entrance into that space for maintenance purposes. So you may ask, weren't they just cut through the oak posts or lift them out, as we've seen in other parks? So the proposal would be to get each of those into our workshop, drill through the bottom in a cross section, and put a piece of rebar through those holes, and a piece of rebar up through the middle of the post. So if anybody tried chainsawing it, they'd get a blunt chainsaw and they wouldn't be able to cut through the post. They wouldn't be able to pull it out because the rebar in the bottom would stop it from coming out of the ground with some cement beneath the turf. So to all intents and purposes, it looks like a natural post, but actually you've got some pretty chunky metal in the middle. So the posts themselves, 165 required. Cost of those is £16,500. Drop down posts, we need 32 of, £9,546. 2 height restrictive barriers, 3 height restrictive barriers, apologies. 1 for Galmington Park and 2 for Taunton Green at each end of the car park, so that the one at the play area, so that they can't get through that way, and one at the pavilion end. The reason for that is because single height barrier at Taunton Green would spoil the aesthetics of the park as you drive in, because there's a rather nice entrance, and we don't want to really detract from that, but there's still a necessity to control what goes on beyond. And a couple of steel hoops, which will serve a dual purpose in Victoria Park. One of stopping vehicles coming in through the Cranmer Road entrance, but 2, because of their placement, will also slow down cyclists, which we have another issue with a mix of cyclists and pedestrians. So under the banner of preventing access to the parks, we actually slow down the cyclists and help create that that safer environment within that park as well. So that's pretty much it. The only bits we would have to get a contractor to do are the height barriers, only because we haven't had our own team carry out that sort of job, and I don't want to experiment on it. All the low level stuff we can do. We've got the equipment now to do it. On the back of a tractor, a post hole borer, we can dig the holes and get those cemented in. Height barriers would still go to a contractor, because that's what they're doing all day, every day. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully back to you, Chair. There's been some support for going forward with this. It's an EMR spend, I believe, on this one, which means it will have to go to full council next week if you approve it this evening. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Boyhan, then Councillor Gladys, then Councillor Harris. So Councillor Danvers.
Okay. Just one, I was just looking at Hamilton Park, and the way they went in last time was off the Hamilton Road. You've got no height restriction on that. No, that's why, because that is the one way they can get in easy.
Yeah, certainly. So the measures for Hamilton Park are to put oak posts along that edge as you drive into the car park, which we want to still leave available for vehicles. The edge on the right hand side between the entrance off Hamilton Road and the pavilion would have a new series of oak posts embedded there. So Hamilton Park benefits from that lovely avenue of trees.
Yeah,
It does.
And to put a height barrier at the end of that,
Yes, I
kind of spoil the aesthetics.
Yeah.
So we're looking at more subtle measures. It's really awkward for them to get into that entrance anyway of Hamilton Road without bottoming out the bottom of caravans and things, as we did see this time. So there was some damage sustained.
You didn't think of, sorry, Chair, you didn't think of using humps and ditches. They did that in Westmoncton. They put them in.
I saw some of the measures in Westmoncton. My personal view is we want to keep the aesthetics of the park as much as we possibly can, and oak posts just kind of naturally fit with it. There are some fairly significant humps, but it's difficult to get them to stop one type of traffic and not another. And we want to leave the car park and the skate park accessible. We've just replaced put in a new 3-chamber bin in there to encourage people to use it more. So yeah, we think measures need to be appropriate to that particular environment.
Agree with that. New toilets.
Councillor Fernandez.
Thanks, Chair. Just to say that I fully support this, as you know, from Galmington Park was used this time. It's never been used. There was reports that it's never been, in 40 years, some residents have said it's never ever been used. I think we just have to protect it in any way that we can. Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Harris.
Yeah, it's really good that this has come forward. We can't do this soon enough. We need to protect all of our parks from unwanted intrusions. Just now, did I have a couple of quasies? Oh yeah, so for on the specifics, like for French Weir, for the drop down post, obviously coach would need a key for there because they have deliveries and, you know, the odd, so they'd be informed and whatnot. Doodah, that's great. And then on Galmington, would it definitely, because they got in not through the car park, they went round Belmont, didn't they?
Yeah.
So what you're proposing would effectively prevent them getting in the same way again, yeah?
Yeah, so back to French Weir to start with. So the aspiration with regard to the lift out plastic posts, which we typically have at the entrances to our parks, they're not very resilient, and anybody with a large screwdriver could pop them out and then they're gone and they're straight into the park. So we would work our way through all of those and replace all of those entrance barriers with more substantial ones. The ones we take out wouldn't be wasted because we can set them into concrete in other areas, and you'll know from French Weir's perspective, that tight corner where cyclists come round by the corner of the cafe,
Yeah.
we would put 2 posts in there to make them go on a wider arc and prevent them coming around and causing those near misses. So we would use those plastic posts because we can embed them in, it creates that barrier, but actually if somebody was to hit them, it's plastic and they'll sustain less of an injury potentially than something that was a bit more resilient. So there are reuse opportunities for all those plastic posts. They're not going to landfill or anything like that. So secondarily, Galmington Park, yes, they went along Belmont. What we would do along there is oak posts again, replace the 4-inch posts that they just hooked out of the ground, dig some decent holes. We've got a blooming good post hole borer now that's a foot across, put them in there, bit of postcrete around them. They'd be resilient to pulling out and cutting, and then 2 drop down posts where the vehicle access actually should be that we can control access to for maintenance.
The only thing I have about, you know, the height restrictions is, so in Taunton Green, from what you're saying, you can still drive in. I'm just thinking about this from the point of view of people who've got accessible vehicles because they have disabled family members and their height doesn't. So from the point of view of Taunton Green, you go into the existing gates and it will only be the height barriers at the places where you want allotment to take your vehicle. On Galmington, where is the height? So it says height barrier to car park entrance off of Musgrove Road. So would that, so we would be restricting access for anybody coming to that car park who's got one of those higher disabled vehicles. That if that's the case, I'm a little bit about that, just because it's when with the Priorswood one, people did raise it as a concern. Is that right? Would it be? Where would it be exactly sit? Will you be able to get into the car park?
Probably go from the car park to the field where the footpath goes through. And the reason is, we'll come on to another paper in a minute for approval, which will deal with the other side of the car park.
So what you're saying is, if I've taken my family out,
Yes.
I can get into the car park.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, well, I'm happy. Yeah, let's crack on then. Yes. Councillor is very happy indeed with it all.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was going to be my question, because you mentioned Priorswood and there was the issue of the height barrier, but we haven't got, well, the height barriers aren't to the Taunton Green car park, but are you saying they are to the Galmington?
So the issue at Priorswood,
it was just
was the Priorswood had plenty of other parking, unrestricted and safe, and no passing traffic outside of that height barrier, which gave people an option that had to have those specific vehicles. With Galmington and with Taunton Green, that isn't the case, and therefore they would go at the far side of the other side of the traffic, if you like, to prevent people getting onto the field, as opposed to getting into the car park.
So at Taunton Green and Galmington, you can still drive into the car park.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And the other thing, with all the measures to stop drivers getting onto the actual park, I take it there's still space for wheelchair access.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, I think there's about 4.5 feet between the inside edges of each of those posts that we would put in.
Right, in that case, recommendation, I think unless there are any questions, but to support the installation of various measures to Taunton Town Council parks as above, to restrict unauthorised access up to a value of £35,000, and to recommend this proposal to full council to use EMR. Yes, you can propose it.
Very exciting.
Use EMR. To recommend this proposal for council to use EMR funding from budget 344 Benson and Gates, proposed by Councillor Ellis, seconded by Councillor Fernandez. All those in favour? Hey. Lovely, thank you. So the next item, 12, Bradshaw Group EV. So again, Paul, talk. This one.
Thank you. Oh, that's my shift, isn't it? Yeah. So this is proposal for predominantly for the ops and assets, the open spaces team. So you may know that over the past years, we've had hanging baskets put up through the town, and we've always enlisted a contractor to come in and water them. We had a proposal again this year for doing that. It costs us about £8 a year for watering, which is a lot of money. There are other tasks that we can do. This vehicle is proposed by Adrian, our open spaces lead, and this vehicle will have a low volume pump system on it, and a Bowser, and a cage on the back. It's an EV, it's narrow. It's been about, the manufacturer has been around since the 70s. I was up in Parliament a couple of weeks ago and I saw one. I thought, that's what we've got in our proposal. So it's a great bit of kit. We've had it on trial for 4 or 5 days. We've had the teams out in it, and what they did whilst we had it was they went to Goodland Gardens and they had a bit of pressure wash on the rainbow path, and while they were there they cleaned the benches and they cleaned the bins and they made it an overall nicer environment. It's the bit of kit that will allow us to do that. Drive it up through the town, close the pavement, no interruption to traffic, water all the stuff that we've got, but also empty the bins, wash the bins, get out of the pot all in one go. So we're proposing a 3-year lease, 3-year contract hire, fully serviced, at the cost written in the paper. And there's testimonials from universities and other places there, and pictures of what it looks like. And it looks like that. Yeah. It's a nice bit of kit. The feedback from it was great from the teams. We had lots of people driving it. They said it's an absolutely fantastic bit of kit. That's it.
Thank you. So just to clarify, that's it's going to do the job that we're already spending £8,000 a year on, plus more, plus more jobs.
Yeah.
And so to hire it out, it's going to cost what, 14,000 a year. We were spending 8,000 on watering, but we're going to get all the extra jobs as well. And we're very pleased to see the testimonials.
I just confirm it's got a good range.
Oh,
Yes, it's got a good range, but we don't need a massive range. The reason that we wanted the range on our electric vehicles was because of the depot electricity supply. So we can say those with an even number can charge on alternate days, and those with an odd number, and we balance out that demand on the electricity. If we finally end up with solar on the roof of the depot, then we can increase the capacity for charging and maybe look at even more.
and certainly, yeah, we do get solar on our depot. Are there any other questions on this, or are we happy to move to a vote? There's a seek support to secure a specialist EV to facilitate a number of tasks, including watering, cleaning baskets, planters, trees, cleaning waste bins and benches on site, waste collection, etc. We want to see the board. Do I have a proposer? Yes, Councillor Ellis.
I'm so happy. Thank you.
Councillor Tully, you just picked to the post. You're happy with the sound there. I am ecstatic. Anything EV is good. All those in favour? Yeah, just thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right, so I'm afraid you're up again.
Oh, we're rattling through these, aren't we?
Yes, now this should make Councillors even more happy.
Oh, yes, another one.
Yeah.
A replacement of a diesel
Yes.
EV.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm led to believe that when we started up as a council and there was a decision to buy a diesel pickup, it didn't go down awfully well, but we had to look at what was on the market at the time. It was before my time, so I understand the practicalities of that. At the time we last spoke, and looked at getting EVs, we had to make the decision, and I know it was contentious, to get a couple of diesel pickups for the open spaces team to get them started. They were the best in group in terms of their environmental impact when we bought them. And the reason we needed to buy them was to be able to tow the kit that we need to deliver the service. So accepting those arguments at the time, I did agree that we would look at, as technology moved on and we had further options, we would look to explore those options. So the point is now that we no longer need the diesel flatbed pickup to tow the trailers that are now towed by more environmentally friendly vehicles. So they're a Cat 6 engine, and they're doing quite well. And we've got an opportunity to get rid of the dirty diesel pickup and get some, again, Ford. So we're replacing like for like in terms of the manufacturer. They've been around for a little while, so I think we're quite happy that the technology is there and is well supported. And because the EVs can only tow 1,500 kilos and not the 3.5 tons we needed to tow on occasion, they are now within scope for us as an option to consider. So the proposal is to get some. How we get some is still to be determined. What you've got within the proposal is the manufacturer's list or the manufacturer's quoted price to us to go to Ford and buy them from Ford. We've also got an option there for a lease agreement from a number of companies who have blanked out on that appendix for commercial reasons. We are still exploring a government framework costing, and until we've got that, we won't have all three options. This paper is to go forward in principle with procuring these two vehicles, but with the final decision to be determined by the clerk, depending on what is shown to be best value out of those three options. So what I'm hoping is that you'll trust us to make the right decision about how we procure them, but in principle, this is what we want to buy. We have budget in place either to lease or to purchase. So there's 90k for replacement vehicles specifically within the budget. And that's pretty much it, really.
Okay. Well, I think it's good that we're moving a diesel vehicle from our operations and able to replace it with an electric vehicle, and I think Ford have been around enough. It's some reputational agreements there. Any questions? Oh yes, Councillor.
So just going to ask, what is the diesel worth?
Sorry.
What is the price of diesel? Well, sorry. What is the worth of the diesel?
So I've had prices there from CarWow. We buy any car on motorway who give a guide price,
Yeah.
and then you go along and they look at it and they say, oh, £100 off for that dent, etc., etc. It's a commercial vehicle, so I'm hopeful some of that won't apply. But just as a benchmark, they range between £5,710 and £6,705. What we should also bear in mind with this particular diesel is that it's a Mark 8 Transit, and they are susceptible to premature failure of the timing belts. They've got a wet belt, which means the rubber belt runs in oil.
Yeah. And
if anybody has ever fitted the wrong oil, it can react with it and they can snap. I had one and I got rid of it when I found that out, but I did have the belt done first, to be fair to the new owner. We've had the belt checked. We had it into Cookway. They checked the belt, did a visual inspection on it. They said it looks all right at the moment, but I think it's the type of vehicle that if we were to retain, would probably start costing us money in the future.
was it not second hand?
It was second hand when we got it.
Yeah.
The EVs aren't, obviously they're new technology that's come to Ford, and they're fairly recent product, so it opens up that market for us.
Yeah. Agree with that.
Are there any other questions? So the recommendation is to support the procurement of one Ford Transit L3 single cab flatbed EV and one Ford Transit L3 single cab tipper EV to be funded by existing capital budget 135-6241 operations and assets capital new investment plan There is a budget of 90,000 for replacement vehicles. 2, dispose of the existing Ford Transit diesel via open market offer. And 3, to give delegated authority to the clerk on final method of procurement. Yeah, purchase versus lease in order to obtain, so that won't come back to us.
No. Donna will get prices and make a decision and just assess.
To obtain best value, dealer list prices, appendix 1 and 4, year lease prices, appendix 2 attachable reference. Anyway, that's the recommendation. I'm happy to support. That's that. To the second, all those in favour? Carried unanimously. Correct. Yeah, so we look forward to it, and I think we'll all have to try it as well.
Yeah. Just to be clear, one is a flatbed pickup and one is a tipper, because we don't need two tippers. They're about £1,000 more for that option. But if we're disposing of a load of waste in one particular spot, then that's going to be beneficial. But we don't need two of them.
Yeah, that's time saving.
Right, item 14, an update on our waste bins. I believe that is, oh yes.
Thank you, Chair. So this is just an update, really, because I appreciate it's been quite some time since we had discussions. Started off in the Staple Grove area and got involved with Somerset Council, and ended up with us agreeing to support by procuring some waste bins. We took delivery of those, and then we were chopped into the depot by the refurbishment works and couldn't move them out again. So we've now managed to get several of them fitted. We've targeted Staple Grove first because that's where it all sort of started. So they're looking very smart and swish, and put their surroundings to shame. No, I didn't say that. They're looking very smart compared to the old bins that were there, and I think they've been well received for the most part. We've also fitted, as I touched on earlier, one in Houghton Park skate park, because I spoke to people there that were using the skate park, and they said every day that bin is overflowing. Could we have a bigger bin? So we targeted that one as well. So back onto it again. We've had some focus this week on the depot and getting ready for that. But the team will be back on waste bins again, I believe, next week, and they'll be realigning bins within parks. So if there are several smaller bins that aren't seagull proof in one particular area, and there's benefit in putting a 3-chamber bin in that's a bit more visible, then that is where they'll be focusing on them. There's some weird ones. There's some in undergrowth and in clumps of trees and things like that just aren't in the right place. So it's a chance to rationalize them and just get a better approach to how we collect that rubbish. There's a couple in Hawthorne Park that are inaccessible in a vehicle. So somebody's got to get out and walk across and take the bag out, walk back again. Well, if we move that down 20 or 30 meters back into the main bit of the park, they can do it on a round, jump out, pop it in the van, and off they go again. So it's about rationalizing and taking a different approach to some of the parks. And that's it, really. The proposal is just to just a note where we are with it and the update.
And just to add that we have had positive comments on, I think, Facebook as well, isn't it? Yes. From that, Staple Grove area. Somebody just specifically wrote in saying how good they are. They're cancer time.
But you don't ignore me. I don't mind. Sorry, while we're on the bins, this has nothing to do with this one. But what about sort bins? Are we looking to maybe putting sort bins out as well?
In which bins?
For road sort and for paving, especially to places like the parks and that.
I mean,
most of the other parish councils do it.
Salt bins.
Oh, sorry. I was sorting in my head.
Sorry.
And I thought, well, they've already got the symbols on them. We are responsible for keeping the pathways clear. So we've got Kit as part of the open spaces team to go through and sweep and things like that. I wouldn't have thought salting is necessary, but we would take a watching brief on the weather. and we look at developing a policy around that. Don't think we've had that as a challenge yet, but I'd be open to sort of developing something around it. And just looking at key routes through parks, mainly for pedestrian safety.
Yeah.
We don't have the issue with vehicles and things, I don't think.
Yeah.
But yeah, good
I
point.
think.
I think Angela's going to be looking at some of that with the
Part of the
civil
risk assessment,
contingency.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any other comments? Or do we have to vote that we've noted it?
No,
No,
No.
it has been duly noted. So next item, AEDs. Shall I do this one thing, right?
That's right.
Oh,
On a roll now. Just keep going like that. It's fine. So this one, as you know, a little while ago, we agreed on a proposal to fit a number of defibrillators around the town. Those predominantly on our pavilions. We've got one on the Shed Cafe. We've got one where the case is at the depot, but the defibrillator is not yet in it because we haven't yet opened the depot fully, but that's pending. And this, since that proposal went forward and was agreed, we've acquired the pavilion in Bivory Park. It wasn't ours at the time, so we couldn't consider that for fitting a defibrillator. Now it is. This is just to add an extra one into what's a very busy park. And if it helps somebody's health, if they have a need for it, then that's what this is all about. So we've got an existing budget for replacement parts for defibrillators. It's unlikely we'll need replacement parts in this financial year, so I would sooner deflect some of that and buy the other one and know that we've got it covered. So the recommendation is to support the installation of an additional value of approximately £1,000 from budget 136,261 AED replacement parts and maintenance.
Are there any questions? To be honest, I can't see us really objecting to this one. More AEDs can only be a good thing, and I'm hoping our residents appreciate the fact that we're putting them out there. So do I have a proposal for this? Yes, thank you, Councillor Dudley. Second one? Oh yes, thank you, Councillor Fernandez. All those in favour? Yes, excellent. Well done. Thank you very much for doing that, Paul. That's very good. Right, now then, we'll do this one next. Then we might have to vote an extension again, will we?
It's ambiguous when you go for a time extension, so we do it.
Into the long haul.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these both these next
Yes,
two
yes.
elements of
Yeah, should I? I'll just go through it. So the next item is we have to motion to exclude the press and public. There are no press and public, but we would like to stop recording for the next two items because they are commercially sensitive.
leave that bit out.
I mean, if you don't want to discuss the particular quotations and we could talk about it in general first before deploying the confidentiality, if you wish.
Well,
We don't need to name the contractors.
Yeah,
We can go through it all without the contractors. and
Yeah.
then
I
we
don't wanna
need to be
go into.
yeah, I was just thinking about one of them was okay, we don't name the contractors. Yeah.
Stay in public, yeah.
Okay. Right. Then in that case, we can go straight on to number 17. The gate installation to Garrington Park. I shall let Paul, who
Thank you.
I think off to do that.
Into the flow. Okay, so you will be aware that we had some trial holes dug in the car park of Garrington Park. The purposes of which were to test the permeability of the ground. And the reason for doing that was because of a notion of hard surfacing and marking out the car park and introducing pay and display to that car park, as well as that at Taunton Green. And the contractors came back and said, we can't tarmac that because it slopes the wrong way. You need to make sure that the water will drain away first rather than going into people's properties. So We posted notices, we posted people, we put signs up, we approached the hospital, we approached the contractors in the hospital, we approached local residents and letter dropped all their houses to say the car park's going to be closed on this day. And guess what? It was exactly the same as every other day of the year. Which gave us a bit of a challenge, and it tied 2 people up all day, just guarding and stopping people coming in and persuading people that did go back to their cars that actually they might want to move so that we could dig some holes. So following that, we thought it would be a good idea, particularly if there are further works coming up to that car park, that we had the ability to lock it off and close it and leave it closed and not have to have somebody stood there telling people why they can't come in and having arguments with them. So this is to seek support to install a 3.6 metre wide galvanised gate to the car park entrance. That gate would be installed on a post and a retaining post that would allow for wheelchair access and mobility scooter access during the time the gate was closed. We'd give advance notice to people that it was going to be closed for a particular time, and that would allow us to control works that go on within the park. It also serves an added benefit, going back to the previous proposal about the measures to keep out unlawful occupation, that it will allow us to, if there was a hint or intelligence to suggest that people might want to be targeting that park again, that we could actually close and lock the gate as an additional measure to keep them out. There are 3 contractor prices there. There is quite a range between them. Our proposal is to go for the cheapest one, quote C, and get that gate installed. There is a budget, fences and gates, 390, 6712. Want to spend up to £1,000, even though the gate itself is 685 plus VAT, because we want to get a lock and just do a little bit of groundwork around that as well.
Okay. Councillor Fernandez.
Just to say, I fully support this proposal. It's well needed.
Makes sense.
Any other comments? I mean, quote C is very significantly. I mean, I guess it's all the same spec, isn't it?
It's the choice of going and getting supply from wherever.
Yeah.
We've compared it to a gate you can buy at, say, Mole Valley Farmers.
Yeah.
And they're fairly cheap, a galvanised gate.
Yeah.
It depends how much markup goes on to each, I think.
Have we done the due diligence behind the companies that are quoted?
Yes, we've used them for all the works. Very good. No problems with them at all.
Okay.
And we have the system now to do the financial checks on companies that we are about to use.
Right. And so the company for quote C, you're quite happy with?
Yeah.
Well, I think at that point, Councillor Tully.
I was going to say, quote C is a reputable company.
Right. Okay. In that case, I'm happy to propose quote C. Now, the recommendation, just as it says, for the installation of a 3.6 wide gate at post to Taunton Park car park up to a value of £1,000. Do we need to change that to actually reflect the one we're choosing?
No, because there's the extra works that we're doing house around that. So there's a bit of a cost to that. A little bit of groundworks, a decent padlock.
So do we also have to add that we are recommending option C?
Are we delegating it?
Choose.
I suppose we do have to say, yeah, option C.
Okay, and the committee has chosen option C. Okay. Proposer? Councillor Tully? You got it just ahead of me. Second, Councillor Fernandez. All those in favour of option C? Passed unanimously. Cool. 8 away. And lastly, now, so I've declared an interest. Well, I've declared an interest in the fact that I am a plot renter. Am I excluded from this voting and conversation?
Thank you, Chair. I guess it's our responsibility under the lease, so it's not really providing any pecuniary benefit to yourself as a member of the road allotments.
Yes, unless of course they, no, well, yes, they're not paying for it, so they won't put up the plot fee
No.
as a result of this.
No.
No, okay, right, that's fine. So, as this, oh, Marcus.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, well, working in conjunction with Paul Allen, our maintenance lead, who's gone out and sourced the quotations, which are before you tonight. So obviously, back in December, Storm Dara claimed a large part of the wall at the roadblocks and allotments. We've done a bit of digging into sort of the ownership of this, and there's been some communications because we had noticed that there was a large budlier on the other side of the wall with the homeowner. We had written to them twice to try and get access, but we have actually managed to treat the budlier. We believe now will remove any further issues from reoccurring with the stability of the wall. There's 3 quotes there, and the officer recommendation would be to go for quotation 3, which is the second cheapest. Happy to take any questions.
Have any questions? If I can see why we would reject quote 1. They've given very little detail as to to do. Again, I'll ask the question, do we know anything about the company?
I believe we've used some of the companies before. I don't know the local firms.
And the company for quote 3 we've used before.
Yeah, I believe we've used all of them, and there is a specific reason for not going for the cheapest quote.
Well, yes, I can see it. Yes, I can see it. So, well, in that case, so the recommendation obviously is to choose a preferred supplier. So, do we need to change that recommendation? And the committee has chosen quote 3 as its preferred supplier. So we just say members to consider commissioning the necessary repairs to the boundary work whereby allotments to be funded from EMR 326 allotment repairs maintenance, and to choose quote 3 as the preferred supplier. Those be recommended to full council because it's at EMR. Gonna be busy. Right. Well, I have a plot on this. I'm going to prepare this one. So keep my chairman happy. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Ellis. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you to everyone who's listened. That was my pleasure. And Ollie, have we now terminated the meeting?